Oh, there's Buck. I see him. All right.
I've got to get it out like this to take it.
Hi, George.
Well, we're having a repeat. Zan's life was so big, we got to do it twice. We're here to celebrate Ross Davis Jr.'s life. He was born January 17th, 1949. Passed away October 11th, 2024. His family and friends didn't call him Ross. It was Dave or Davy. And so I'll probably refer to him mostly as Dave, just because that's all I ever knew him by.
Do you know why?
No. I knew him for about 70 years. 75, if you count the times that they put him and me in a crib when our parents went out for a party. That may explain why one side of my head is a little flatter, because I think he rolled over on me. Ross came up to Vail in '74, right after he graduated from law school from DU, and started his law practice. Now, he skied in Vail for about 60 years, maybe 60 plus. And we skied a lot together. And I was thinking about it, probably both of us, when we were skiing together, probably covered well over 30 million vertical feet over the years. Misspent youth into middle age towards old age. We played golf for about 40 years together, and that was about 3,000 rounds. Now, Dave was a combination. He had a super intellect. He was really scary smart, but he also really cared about people. And he was always there. He was very dependable. If you needed something, he was there to help you. And he was very practical in the way he approached both life and people. Now, after he graduated from Colgate, he went to DU Law School, and then he came up here with Doug McLaughlin and started a successful law practice for 50 years. He took care of locals a lot. He thought that everyone should have a will. And so he only charged people $300 for a simple will so it could help further that process. Now, he was also incredibly dependable about following through on things. Now, in his last office suite, Dave might have been a little hard of hearing, not sure on that, but he used to play Rush Limbaugh at lunch really loud so that everyone in the suite could hear it. Some appreciated it, some maybe went, oh, it's time to go to lunch now. Now, he had a variety of work experiences. In high school, he worked on the expansion for the lodge at Vail, on the construction crew. And he worked with some guy, you may have heard of him, I think his name was Gerald Gallegos. And they became good friends from that, and that laid the foundation for both of their successes in the future. After his first year in law school, instead of clerking for a law firm, he came up here to work on a construction crew again, get out of the library. And he spent the entire summer in what would be the foundation for the Lodge Tower South. They kind of forgot that there was an underground stream that flowed through it. And so he was up to his waist in water for the whole summer trying to dry the foundation out so they could build. It was Vale's first municipal pool. In '74, he started working with Doug McLaughlin up here, and in '74, '75, they built Barton Yetis. Initially, it was called Calhoun's Saloon, and if you look at the woodwork and stuff, that's the original woodwork they put up 50 years ago. Now, Dave held the longest liquor license in Vale's history, all 50 years. Now, what his work experience did, because he wasn't just sitting in an ivory tower or in some law firm, he was out working with his hands and doing labor. He had a real common understanding of a lot of different people. And that allowed him to have a vast number of friends and deal with each other, with everyone on an equal level. He was sort of an uncommon, common man. Now, he was kind and gentle, and he had a genuine interest in others. But he tried to kind of cover that up, sort of with a gruff exterior. And he used quick wit and some sarcasm here and there. Of course, that masking effort didn't last too long. It didn't work too well, but he tried to do it. He was a dependable friend, and he was quick to help others. He was quiet and understated, and he really didn't like being the center of attention. He really wanted to help the people that lived in this valley, and an example of that, he had a bunch of rentals, and he didn't raise his rent very often on his tenants, knowing how difficult it was just to make a living in the valley without having to get a jacked up rent every year. He had a great sense of humor. It was sort of a dry wit. You had to kind of listen carefully to catch every little bit that he had. An example of that, a friend of his at one point said, "Dave, I'd like to ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?" And his response was, "You just did." But it was a gentle cutting edge. He was a creature of habit, if you haven't already guessed. In the mornings, he'd either be going skiing, going to work out, and then about 11:30 or noon, he'd be coming here for lunch, and then about 3:30 or 4, he'd be on the frontage road coming back here to have an afternoon beer. You could kind of set your watch by his schedule. He was that dependable. In athletics, he was incredible. He was served on the Vale Rec Board and was chairman for a while, for 8 years. And then after that, he kept giving him advice and kind of going over it. He played rugby for about 20 years, and he played in the front row as a prop. Now, that is sort of the epitome of being tough, or lack of self-preservation. One of the two, maybe both. But he played for Colgate, the Denver Harlequins, and the Vale Rugby Club. And he's in the Hall of Fame of the Vale Rugby Club. He helped the club keep afloat financially, and he also helped players that got into trouble. That's where I would see him occasionally with part of the rugby team. But it was always just in good fun. He loved to ski, and every year he tried to ski about 150 days. He thought that was a good round number. He'd be a slacker and take off Thanksgiving and Christmas to be down in Denver with his mom and family. And but other than that, every day he was out on the mountain. And in order to count as a day of skiing, he had to ski at least 10 runs. You go, hey, it's frozen out here. Yeah, I only got 2 more to do and then I can count it. He was that dedicated. He was also a really dedicated golfer. He'd he'd try to golf between 80 and 100 days rounds a year. And when we went out together, we called it Iowa golf, which meant idiots out wandering around. As our caliber of golf kind of. Now, Dave was also, there was a toughness and a dedication and a dependability. And of course, being a prop on the rugby team was only a small part of it. He battled through some significant injuries. The stroke he had 11, 12 years ago, they told him that if he hadn't gotten to the hospital, the crime would have died. He had about a 45-minute window to survive. It was that bad. And it took him a long time to rehab. But he was determined to rehab so he could ski and play golf and do everything else. So he worked pretty hard so he could ski. And then he got out and skied. And he had an early knee replacement, which was tough to get through. And then when he got back to skiing after his stroke, he broke his femur. And that took a long time to recover from. And then as soon as he was ready to ski from his femur, they determined that they had to replace his hip from complications from a broken femur. So he had to get through all of that. And he toughed through all of that. He just, I'm going to do it. He was determined. And you never heard him complain. He just would go along and just do it. And it was incredible. Now, on a personal level, we were friends for 70 years. 75 if you count crib time. And we regularly skied or played golf together. Now, our conversations amounted to a conversation 4 or 5 minutes on the ski lift or 4 or 5 minutes between shots on the golf course. And then we'd either get a shot or ski down to the bottom, get on the lift to start the next 4 or 5 minutes, which actually worked resoundingly well because we got a lot of stuff, we came to a real understanding between one another, and in 4 or 5 minutes it's hard to get into an argument. So you got to know him pretty well over the 70 years. And he was a really valued and dear friend. In fact, in my reflections, it's kind of like, I kind of look at him and I as sort of brothers with different parents. We logged that much time together. He was a lifetime friend, and I'm sure all of us here know that we really lost a very special person, and this whole valley is a lot poorer for his passing. Now, since this is sort of an Irish wake, I'm going to conclude this with an Irish blessing, and it goes, "May the good earth be soft under you when you rest upon it. And may it rest easy over you when, at the last, you lay out under it. And may it rest so lightly over you that your soul may be out from under it quickly and up and off and beyond the way to God." So, beautiful. Goodbye, Dave. Thank you.